So, Ginger.
Yeah?
You know how we wanted to start a podcast, but we were having trouble coming up with a topic?
Yeah?
Okay, so here's my pitch. The topic of the podcast is us trying to come up with the topic for the podcast.
What, like we pitch each other podcast ideas and that's the podcast?
Yeah, exactly. We could call it, What Should Our Podcast Be About?
Miles, that's really stupid. Let's do it.
What should this song be about? I'm trying to figure it out. What should this song be about? Could you perhaps help me out? I've had a moment of doubt. What should this song be about? Welcome to Committing Sudoku, the relaxing podcast where we do Sudoku and you try to beat my time doing the Sudoku. I'm Miles Grover.
And I'm Ginger Barham.
And today we're looking at a tough one. We've got in the top left corner. No, I don't think we should continue with this one.
No.
That could be an audience for it.
Could be.
No.
I don't think so, actually. I was just humoring you.
Yeah. It's kind of nice to be relaxing, though.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's how you relax. You talk in a calm voice.
Calm voice. Everyone's relaxed.
Everyone is on sedatives.
Everyone is falling asleep at the wheel while listening to this podcast in the car. Welcome to What Should Our Podcast Be About? The podcast where we try to figure out what this podcast should be about. I'm Miles Grover.
Now I'm Ginger Barham.
I guess we already introduced ourselves, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, now we did it with more energy.
Now we did the real one. Yeah. So we're not doing Committing Sudoku, and we're not doing Do You Like Bread? The How to Make Friends podcast. Instead, we are going to talk about some other ideas. Do you want to start, or should I start this time?
Well, I just have one very bad idea this week, so I can start, or you can start. You probably have more ideas.
I have many bad ideas.
You start.
Okay, let's see.
What are your bad ideas?
One of my bad ideas. Okay, we just watched the Barbie movie last night, which was excellent.
Highly recommend.
Very good. And in that movie, I don't think it's a spoiler, really. There's a joke where somebody says, like, what will happen if the Barbie universe is disrupted? What will happen in the real world or something? And I think it was Will Ferrell's character is like, your mind won't even be able to comprehend what would happen. And one of the other boardroom guys is like a podcast hosted by two wise trees? So my first idea is a podcast hosted by two wise trees.
Okay, so are we the wise trees?
We're getting into wise tree character.
I'm gonna be a wise but sad weeping willow.
Okay. I'm gonna be whatever kind of Treebeard is in the Lord of the Rings, because Ents are kind of my only idea for what you could do with the podcast hosted by two wise trees. Because otherwise trees don't talk or anything.
I want to be a weeping willow that gives good but depressing advice.
Okay. What is good but depressing? Do you have an example of good but depressing advice?
Like, you're trying to... Well, I don't know. I'd have to know what the question is.
Okay.
What's the question? What advice do you need?
I need to know how to spice up my sex life, and I've decided to ask two wise trees about that.
Okay.
And so advice I actually need is who I should ask about that, I guess.
Well, you should try, maybe doing some role-playing in the bedroom. But you should remember that it's the nature of life that joy falls away from all things eventually, especially if you think about how fleeting it is.
Joy is
for
fleeting.
Too long.
Okay, yeah. That's true. That is good but depressing advice, I guess.
So you might just want to accept it.
I feel like this would be another one where we would talk in kind of soft, relaxing voices.
I was thinking my tree should have kind of an Eeyore voice.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'd have to learn how to do an Eeyore.
Yeah, well, you need a Eeyore-inspired voice. Maybe not an actual Eeyore voice, but...
Well, you could try introducing some role-playing to the bedroom. Is this depressed enough? Am I being depressed enough? I feel like I'm still just kind of calm.
Yeah, kind of calm.
More calm than depressing.
What's depressing about Eeyore's voice? Oh.
I need to go down at the end.
Yeah, you need to have
down.
Well, you could introduce role playing.
So how about a podcast where we analyze different voices?
Yeah.
That could be fun. What makes this voice sad? What makes this voice angry?
That does sort of dovetail with an idea I've had written down but not talked about for a while, which is just a podcast where we work on our impressions, which would involve like how do you do a Bill Clinton impression? Well, you got to kind of talk breathy, kind of south, but also, whatever. I don't actually do a good Bill impression.
I do think that Clinton sounds impression. Like a recipe for embarrassment for me, though.
Well,
I'm not particularly good at it, and I don't see myself getting better.
Well, but anybody probably can get better at it, right? There's techniques and stuff, right? Some people are probably naturally good at it, but,
But wouldn't a podcast like that be better to have somebody on who's, like, good at it? To teach you how to do the right things?
Well, no, this podcast is us trying to get better at it. It's partly a bad idea because we would be bad at it.
I see.
Probably. But, I feel like we could probably get better at it. Anyway, I don't know if we need to do that whole podcast to do our wise tree voices, though.
That's probably true. All right, so wise tree voices.
Although I do also like the idea of a podcast called Two Eeyores Giving Sex Advice.
Well, for that one, we definitely would have to, perfect our Eeyore accents.
Yeah, I don't feel like
it's Eeyore voices.
It's that
Eeyore
hard,
accent.
right?
What's an Eeyore accent?
Yeah,
that's nothing.
The accent Eeyore has. Well, I guess Eeyore does have an accent, but not a particularly noteworthy one.
Yeah.
So we could do sex advice.
I mean, one problem with that is where do we get the advice askers?
Right. We would have to get people out. How do advice podcasts
Well,
start
people
out?
listen to their podcasts.
No, but how do they start out?
Yeah. I mean, Yahoo Answers isn't around anymore, so.
That's true. There is Quora, which
Quora.
Is terrible.
Well, it's terrible, but so our advice probably couldn't be any worse.
Yeah, true. Couldn't be. Our answers probably couldn't be much worse. Rory has some advice for everybody. So I guess that's the first idea. I guess I wasn't particularly envisioning it as a sex advice podcast.
I mean, that was all you. I didn't have anything to do with that.
That's true. I did.
I asked you to ask me an advice question, and you immediately were like, "Give me some sex advice."
I guess I was just trying to think of what are things people ask for advice about in things, and I don't read.
Are you trying to tell me
advice
something?
columns about spicy? No.
Yeah. Am I boring you?
No. Just trying to think of what people ask, but that's probably not what you would ask a tree. So
yeah.
I mean, they do technically reproduce sexually, but I don't think they probably have a lot of human sex advice.
I feel like if you're seeking out a wise tree, you're probably asking more existential questions.
Yeah. I guess the bigger problem is maybe that we would have to have wise advice for those kind of existential questions. And I don't know if we do.
No, maybe we just call ourselves wise trees. And, it's like when somebody says they're an empath, but they didn't really ask anybody else. We just decided that we were wise because we're trees.
Maybe we're wise in tree-related things, but not particularly in human existential questions. They come
up and ask an existential question, and you're like, I don't know, man, I'm a tree.
But I'll try.
I mean, I'll try.
I'll try to give you some advice based on my perspective as a tree. But, yeah. Anyway, that's that idea.
That could be fun.
Could be kind of fun. Do you want me to do more ideas, or do you want to do your one idea that you had?
Well, I can give my one idea.
Okay.
So we've thought of good versus soup.
Yep.
And bad versus soup.
Right.
Bad
versus plain rice, I guess.
And mid versus soup, yes.
Right, mid versus soup. Yeah.
Well, what about soup versus soup?
Okay.
And it is a podcast where we eat and review soup. I did say this was a terrible idea.
Okay, so it's a soup review podcast, and we're pitting two soups against each other each episode.
Uh-huh. I mean, I might just want soup.
How many kinds of soup are there?
I mean, you can make so many things into soup. We could, make ridiculous soups, too. We could, make Skittles soup if we wanted, Anything could be soup if you're brave enough.
I guess that's true. We would definitely have to get into the weeds about what is the definition of soup, right? Is it Does it have to be savory? I guess not if it's Skittles soup.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be savory.
But,
carrot soup is sweet, I assume, right?
No, I mean, a little bit, because carrots are kind of sweet, but carrot soup I would classify as a savory soup.
Okay.
I mean, it has sweetness to it, but it's not like a dessert soup or something.
Soup doesn't have to be savory, though, right?
Well, I was just trying to think of what would we call soup that wasn't savory. And I mean, obviously, if you say Skittles soup, you're saying it's soup with Skittles in it, and I wouldn't expect that to be savory, although maybe that would be weird. It would be an interesting way to try to
maybe you figure out a way to make your Skittles soup savory.
But yeah, I don't know. Are there any?
I think you could do it. Skittles are pretty tangy and sour.
Yeah,
I think you could make a savory.
Extremely sugary, though.
I think you could make a savory Skittles
They're like
soup.
90% sugar.
I think you could make a savory
if not more.
I think it's doable.
Yeah.
So
maybe
we get to make weird soups, so that's plus.
Okay, so it's a weird soup podcast.
Weird soup podcast.
Trying to think of the weirder soups we can think of.
Yeah, and we can have some ASMR because maybe some people want to listen to people eat soup.
Sure. So we would be eating the soup on air, as it were.
Yes.
Like slurping.
That's part of the idea.
Slurping the soup and so on.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of slurpy sounds. Slurpy sounds.
I don't know. I mean, like, you could eat soup loudly or quietly.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, okay.
Eat soup however you want, idiot.
Yeah. Okay. Soup versus soup. All right, that could be something maybe.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more to say about that, or should we move on to more ideas and we can come back to it if we want to?
Yeah, we should stop talking about soup because now I just really want to stop recording and eat soup.
Right, yeah, sure. I would go for a chowder maybe. Chowder's soup still, right?
Chowder soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, chowder soup. I could go for like a butternut squash soup.
Yeah, that could be pretty
It's
good.
a little early for that, but I just really want it to be fall.
Yeah, okay, sure. It could stop being so freaking hot maybe. All right, well, so here's another idea I have.
Okay.
Which is maybe not necessarily a bad idea, but it has a bad/great name, I think. And so the idea is we make and or read Chuck Tingle fan fiction. So it's set in the Tingleverse, right?
Okay.
But it's fan fiction. I assume that exists. I don't know if that exists because Chuck Tingle's already kind of like fan fiction himself.
I mean, he's a better writer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
Let's
probably,
not knock Chuck Tingle.
Well, let's not knock fan fiction writers either. Some of them are probably fine, but
some of them are good. Some of them are Josh Hutcherson trapped
in an island.
In an island.
Hutcherson, yeah. I wanted to call the podcast because his books are usually they're called Tinglers, right? Because it's Chuck Tingle. Tinglers, Finglers.
Okay.
Is my idea for
it's a good name
for it. Yeah, so that's mostly the idea. We would read and or write fan fiction in the Tingleverse.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to figure out if it exists.
Yeah.
I think if we have to write it, I don't see having time for that myself.
Well, we would write it on the podcast.
Oh, I see.
The podcast would be writing it.
I see.
Coming up with it, I guess.
Do you have some examples of you want to try and write some Chuck Tingle fan fiction? I don't feel like I've read enough Chuck Tingle.
Yeah, I mean, I've only read a few of his things. A lot of his stuff is actually very short. Like, he puts out a book that's like pounded in the butt by my own sense of entitlement about the something, right, or whatever.
I mean, I enjoyed the Harriet Porber one.
Harriet Porber was quite good, so we could come up with something in the Porberverse.
Yeah.
Transwizard Harriet Porber, if you haven't read it, is better than it seems like it should be.
It's real good. Maybe tear up a couple times.
Quite good. There are some explicit sex scenes with a sexy dinosaur, so, not for kids.
Unless your kid is young enough to not know what's going on.
I guess. But I don't think you would want to read it to them anyway.
Probably not.
And yeah, anyway, so that was that idea, the Chuck Tingle thing.
Yeah, I mean, writing fan fiction could be kind of fun, I suppose, if we're doing it together on air.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not feeling passionate about that one, but...
Okay. I have some more, so let's see. This one is called The Debate Perverts, and the idea is that we debate just random topics and we have to, we pick a random topic and then randomly pick who has to argue what side of it and then argue about it.
Oh, no. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I definitely don't want to do that. I hate debating. I always get annoyed and frustrated.
I mean, it would be silly topics, right? Nothing serious.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it could be like to kind of point out how, the stupid things about debates and debating, right? You can be good at debating while saying things that aren't true.
Yeah, if
right?
we could debate about, debates, maybe I'd be into that.
Well, we probably mostly agree about that, but... Okay, so no debate perverts. Okay, another one is called DDIY. Don't do it yourself. And it's we look at bad do-it-yourself projects and talk about that. And make fun of them.
5-minute crafts and stuff?
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you make 5 different molds
to make flip-flops out of plastic?
Yeah, why would you make 5 different molds to make flip-flops or some other kind of weird shoe out of some garbage or whatever? And yeah, I guess that's pretty much that.
Yeah, that could be fun. You just, anything that involves looking up 5-minute craft videos could be fun.
Yeah. I guess one downside is that videos are not very good on podcasts.
Yeah.
So we'd have to describe. We would have to do okay, and now they're pouring a silicone mold. Okay, now they're demolding it and pouring in some other thing, and it looks like barf. And then now they peeled that off. You know what I mean? I am imagining one I've seen.
Yeah.
And they peeled that off. Okay, now they've welded 2 pieces of metal together, and
might not go well in an audio medium. Yeah, I enjoy watching those videos and mocking them, but I don't know if it would make for good content.
Yeah, I guess most of the podcast would just be us going, what? Why? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why would anyone do that?
Yeah.
And the answer is for engagement online.
Yeah. Let us know, would you like to listen to an hour of us just making noises of disbelief and shock?
An hour every week.
For an hour every week. An hour?
It definitely has to be at least an hour-long podcast.
Yeah, okay. We might run out of content.
No, we can't run out of content because 5-minute crafts makes a lot of money doing their stupid shit every day.
Churn it out.
Churn out all kinds of dumb stuff. Okay, another idea. So we talked a lot about false crimes in our first couple episodes, as you may recall. And I was thinking, what about a different kind of false crimes podcast where we plan heists?
Okay, where we plan heists. Did we have something similar to that at some point? Did we have a heist-related thing? I feel like we had a heist-related thing.
It does sound a little bit familiar, but I'm not going to fact-check it.
I know we ended up talking about Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah.
And his heists.
Yeah. I think
his attempted bank robberies.
I guess the idea is we try to plan, and I don't know if we would actually be any good at this, but we take some valuable thing that we would want and imagine how we could go steal it.
Yeah, okay. I think that sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea for something you want to steal?
No, I guess I don't really have an idea for what to steal.
Maybe the Mona Lisa?
Oh, yeah, the Mona Lisa. Yeah. Good, artworks. Stuff
sounds
like that.
Like heisty.
Yeah. So, I don't actually... Well, I don't have any criminal experience to draw from. And also, to be honest, don't even watch that many heist movies. I've watched a bunch, but I don't...
Yeah, remember.
I don't particularly remember. I don't
We watched Tiny Heist. We enjoyed that.
We did, yeah. And I liked Baby Driver, and I watched Ocean's 11 and stuff, whatever, but...
I feel like heists always seem cooler than they actually would probably be, right?
Yeah.
Maybe our heist needs to have a soundtrack, too.
Would it be... I guess... maybe we needed some kind of hook of, funny stuff to steal, or, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I've shoplifted, so I'm clearly an expert.
Right. You could be our stealing expert. I'll be the demolitions expert. Because you always need one of those, and I've used fireworks before.
We need a getaway driver.
Oh, yeah, we need a driver. We need a baby driver. Rory could be the driver.
Rory could be the getaway driver. He might need some help reaching the pedals.
Yeah. We need to get a special baby car for him. So I don't know. Like, it could be fun. I don't really know if it would work right now. Like, because you kind of need to know, like, the schematics and, like, the guard patrol, you know what I mean, for heist stuff, right?
Yeah.
They always got to case the joint. How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
I can see this ruining our Google search history, right? Because we're constantly Googling, like,
right.
How is the Mona Lisa guarded?
Right.
How is insert thing here guarded?
How to attack the Louvre.
We definitely would get on some watch lists.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair to the cops, I guess, who would put us on the list.
We don't want to be fair to the cops.
Well, to be fair to whatever, like, I am proposing Plan Crimes, the podcast.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I guess the worst case scenario would be we make up silly crimes and then somebody actually does one.
Yeah.
Slash pretty good scenario given, like, how much press we would get, I guess. But
silly crimes, like how to steal a penguin from the zoo.
Now, see, that I'm into.
Yeah.
Mona Lisa, whatever, is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Penguin from the zoo. It's not that hard to get into the zoo. It's probably not even that hard to get into the penguin enclosure.
But you'd have to get to the penguin enclosure unnoticed.
Well, you just go on a day that's not very busy and you just wait till nobody's around, I feel like.
Yeah.
And you don't do it at, like, penguin feeding time.
You think it's just that easy to steal a penguin?
I think that zoos probably rely on people not particularly wanting to steal the animals out of the cages most of the time, out of the enclosures or whatever. I mean, it could easily go wrong, but, like, if, you know, a few things go right, it doesn't seem that hard to at least get in there. How you get the penguin into a duffel bag or something, I don't know.
Are penguins noisy ever? Would the penguin
they
object
honk,
to being stolen?
Maybe, or maybe we'd be freeing them. Let's put a pin in that because that could be our idea.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about what we've covered so far and
let's talk about what ideas we've come up with so far. We had my one excellent idea, soup versus soup.
Soup versus soup, which I do sort of like, but it's pretty all beans.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty all beans, but
maybe we let it rattle around.
Yeah.
See if it would come back to it.
We had podcasts hosted by Two Wise Trees.
Mm-hmm.
We had Tingler Fan Finglers.
Yep, Tingler Fan Finglers, which is an excellent name, by the way.
Yeah, / horrible name, I feel like.
Well, that's why it's excellent,
right?
Because it's terrible.
I said the Debate Perverts, which you immediately vetoed. I said DDIY, don't do it yourself,
which we agreed would probably be a little difficult in audio medium. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got to talk more about penguin theft, really.
Okay, so we're going with the heist planning, false crime podcast. We should think about a name for it.
Okay, do we want to circle back to the name, or you want to come up with a name?
I'm saying we should let it percolate a little bit.
All right.
But so it should definitely be silly stuff like silly stuff that's not super difficult, right? Stuff you don't actually need to know the guard rotation and the really specific,
Yeah, because there's probably zoo guards, but it's probably pretty minimal.
I don't think there even are zoo guards so much as just zookeepers and employees at the zoo.
There's guards at night?
Maybe? I feel like it would be harder to come at night. Harder to pull off at night, maybe.
You just gotta hide in the zoo until it closes.
So we go into the bathroom at the zoo, stand on the toilet, wait till it closes. How do we get out of the zoo?
What if they clean the bathrooms? You gotta find one of those little kiddie areas where it's there's a little cave you can crawl into. Just crawl into one of those.
But they could clean that too, right?
Probably not.
Well,
they're less likely to clean that.
Well, also,
those are little outdoor structures.
If we are waiting until just after close, I feel like the janitors or whatever probably don't show up for a couple hours or something. At least that's how it was when I worked. When I worked in an office, if I stayed a couple hours late, eventually janitor people would show up or whatever.
Yeah. So do we try and get out of there before the janitors show up, or do we just wait till the dead of night?
I'm still thinking it might make sense to try to just do it during the day with regular, like in a regular customer situation, right? Like during the day on a slow day, right? We got to find a slow day, probably
like when it's raining or
when
something.
it's kind of rainy. It's the middle of a Tuesday or something, but
maybe we dress up in like lab coats. That way, if anybody notices, we're like, no, it's okay. We're penguin doctors.
Yeah, I think we might do better. I think we might be less noticeable in like janitor outfits, though.
They'd be like, you mean veterinarians? We'd be like, no, penguin doctors.
Penguinologists. We're the penguinologists from the main office, from the head office.
From the head office of zoo.
Yeah, the head office of zoo. The head zoo office.
So is this podcast about how to badly plan a heist?
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But, well, what I was going to say, though, is, like, the janitor thing could work because, again, assuming it's, like, not a crazy busy zoo and it's not a busy day, right? I think there are probably times when you could hop into a cage, and they probably have cameras, but they might not, like, be monitoring them that closely, right? Given the fact that, like...
So we're the penguin janitors.
You see, well, let me lay this out. But I was going to say, like, you see lots of times when somebody jumps into the friggin' lion cage or something, or drops their phone into the lion cage.
Wait, lots of times?
Yeah, well, I mean, relative to how many times it should happen.
Maybe there should be more security at the zoo.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day of somebody who threw a banana or something to an orangutan, and the orangutan cage or enclosure had like a moat kind of, or like a water part between where the orangutans hang out and where the people hang out, or where the people watch them from. And the person threw the banana, like, I guess sucked at throwing it, and it landed in the water. And orangutans cannot swim, but the orangutan like went in and tried to get it, and then like was drowning. And then a zookeeper dude had to jump in, drag it out, and do CPR on it to save it.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I guess that might be a little bit of a counter argument to what I'm saying, in that I guess the zookeeper noticed quickly enough to be able to jump in and save the orangutan. But I feel like you see fairly often somebody climbs into the cage.
They gotta have some kind of monitoring, right? They gotta have some monitoring.
They probably have video cameras everywhere,
yeah.
Right? But so maybe we needed some kind of distraction. But what I was going to say, as far as the janitor thing, we're penguin janitors, sure. We're janitors, or some kind of janitor type people. We're in coveralls, and we have a big garbage can that we're dragging around. So that lets us put the penguin in there and then wheel it back out of the zoo, right? Because we have to have some way to get the penguin out without being really suspicious.
Right. Well, I think it's important to me. An important part of the plan to me is that we either get to say I'm a penguin janitor or I'm a penguin doctor.
I mean, the ideal situation would be we don't talk to anybody because nobody notices in time for us to get in and get out, right? Okay. But I guess if we get caught, we would need some kind of cover story. I don't know if penguinologist or penguin janitor is the... I guess we could say we were cleaning up and we saw a penguin in distress, and then, like, if they catch us in the act, right? Like, if we get caught in the act, we could say we saw the penguin in distress and we're going to help it,
Okay, yeah. So if we get caught, I was trying to help the penguin. I'm a regular janitor.
I'm a regular janitor, I'm a penguin enthusiast. I like penguins.
I'm a regular janitor.
But a regular janitor. I'm not professionally penguin aligned. Professionally.
We should say all of that to them.
Yes.
When we get caught.
Clearly.
If we get caught.
I like this. I feel like we should think about what are other heists we would do. Because stealing a penguin from the zoo is a very good option, but we would need a new heist every week, probably.
Yeah, okay. Let's come up with some other heist ideas.
We could, there's a meme about the McDonald's ice cream machine never working. So what if we broke in and fixed the McDonald's ice cream machine? That could be
fun. A heist where we're not so much doing a heist but performing a service.
Yeah.
Okay. That could be good.
That McDonald's just doesn't do for some reason. Although
I maintain they just don't want to. They just don't want to make it.
Yeah, I mean,
I've worked at a Starbucks, and we would occasionally say that our Frappuccino machine wasn't working.
Yeah. I mean...
And really, it was just we didn't want to clean it.
Right.
Like, because you have to clean it after every single one. It's a lot more work.
Yeah. I've actually never really or rarely had a problem with getting ice cream at McDonald's. Like, you know, I eat there not terribly often, but if I want a hot fudge sundae or a milkshake or whatever, it's not usually that hard to get. I guess,
I'm just saying that this is definitely a thing that, having been on the inside, I can say does happen.
Okay. What about, like, I was trying to think
What about stealing Elvis Costello's glasses?
Okay, interesting. So we're getting into kind of a realm where we're putting a real human in danger besides ourselves.
No, we're just taking his glasses. He's probably got other pairs.
Well, I'm sure he's got lots of pairs of glasses, and I don't know if he, like...
I'm not suggesting we endanger national treasure Elvis Costello.
Is he a national treasure when he's not from this country? International treasure.
International treasure.
Yeah.
Showing off my lack of Elvis Costello knowledge.
Yeah, well, he's British.
Well, I guess I knew that.
And his real name is like Declan or something, I think.
Okay, that I didn't know. And I didn't know you knew it, so learned something new about you.
Some Elvis Costello.
Yeah, I know. You liked him enough to buy like multiple tickets to his show and then not go.
Oh, yeah. God, we wasted a lot of money on not going to that show. It was like, seemed like COVID was kind of over, and then COVID wasn't over, but we couldn't sell the tickets because
COVID wasn't
other
over.
people knew that COVID wasn't over for some reason. And yeah, that sucked. But they still did the show as far as we didn't get refunded, certainly.
No. Nope, we sure didn't.
Certainly. Okay. Yeah, stealing Elvis Costello's glasses. I feel like there's like maybe like stealing the recipe to like the Colonel's special chicken recipe or whatever for KFC.
Right.
Could
We'd
be
have
fun.
to know where that would possibly be stored.
Well, it's got to be in Kentucky, right?
But we can't search all of Kentucky.
Step 1, search Kentucky. Yeah, that might not work. I was also thinking kind of along similar lines, like a few years ago. Do you remember a few years ago there was like, I think it was at McDonald's, there was like Szechuan sauce or something, and like Rick and Morty fans went nuts trying to get it and they ran out. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
It was like some joke on Rick and Morty, or maybe it was a promotion or something, and like little man children like couldn't get their Rick and Morty sauce and like literally jumped up on the counter and were like screaming at a McDonald's about it.
Man.
Anyway, I was thinking...
Dudes are the worst.
Yeah. Rick and Morty fan. I mean, I like Rick and Morty all right, but like...
Fans are not great, are they?
Yeah, a lot of times. Anyway, I was just trying to think if there's like rare fast food things we could somehow get a hold of, like steal, because it seems like a silly thing that I sort of would actually want to steal, I guess.
Huh.
But yeah, maybe not. What about stealing like some famous, like, I don't know, like Elvis's guitar from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a difficult one.
That would be like a legit real theft, I guess.
Yeah.
Of an actually valuable thing.
As opposed to just a silly one.
But maybe there's like a triangle that Ringo Starr played one time or something. Something more silly. I guess people would
I hope there's
still
a triangle that Ringo Starr played one time, and I hope that's how it's labeled there.
Yeah.
Triangle that Ringo Starr played one time.
Yeah. Literally, he hit it once. Yeah, I don't know. What are some other silly things to steal? How about like a big wheel of cheese? Like a huge wheel of cheese.
I mean, I want that.
Well, it might depend on the cheese.
I want it right now.
Might depend on the cheese.
Well, I think any cheese-related heist, I'm on board with.
Yeah. What are some just silly things? What if we tried to steal the like biggest ball of twine or whatever?
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
I don't know, a bunch of rubber chickens from Archie McPhee or something, or
shoplifting from Archie McPhee's.
But we need to get all the rubber chickens.
All of the rubber chickens. That would be difficult.
Yeah, especially because they make a lot of noise.
Yeah, you gotta like slowly take the rubber chickens out.
Or you can pick them all up, but you have to not let out your arms. Like I'm like you imagining like you're picking up a big armful, I guess, of them, and then like as you slowly let go a little bit, it's like right. So you gotta just like not do that.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like I
was
could
stealing like one hamster from the pet store.
one specific hamster?
Yeah. Or a snake. Hamster would probably be easier than a snake.
Yeah, probably. I do feel kind of like I could steal a penguin now.
Yeah.
After talking about this.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like it would actually necessarily be that hard. You could easily fail, but you probably could succeed.
You got to know how to take care of a penguin too.
Yeah, I don't have any plans for the penguin. I didn't think past the stealing it part.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with the penguin?
Yeah.
Who's
going to take care of
the penguin when we go on vacation?
How do you take care of a penguin?
I guess you feed a penguin
fish.
Yeah, like sardines or something. Or whatever. Maybe not sardines, but smaller fish.
Yeah. I don't know what fish penguins eat, but
so the next
but I've seen the penguin feedings and it's definitely fish.
So the podcast starts out as how to steal a penguin and then becomes how do you take care of a penguin? How do you take care
of a penguin? Now you've stolen a penguin. So you stole a penguin. Now what?
Yeah. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. What is the most stealable animal from the zoo, do you think?
I know what the most stealable animal from the Woodland Park Zoo is.
Okay.
Because
Seattle's the one in Seattle.
Yeah, because I was there at one point. I think this was when the nocturnal exhibit was still open, which had to close, which was very sad because it was my favorite exhibit. But on the way out, they had like a bug section.
And you could just put a handful of bugs in your pocket and walk out.
Well, no. Yes and no. There was a spider web with a spider in it, and I cannot remember what kind of spider it was. But there was a sign there that said, yeah, there's no glass, but don't worry, the spider doesn't want to go anywhere.
So you're saying you could get a stick and put it in there and scoop up the spider. You could just take the
spider. It was there. There was nothing guarding the spider. So, like, you could take it.
Was it a poisonous spider? A venomous spider?
I don't believe it was.
I guess they probably would.
I guess you'd find out when you try to steal it.
They'd probably take more precautions if it was dangerous.
Right.
I mean, I guess bugs are probably pretty easy to sneak out in general, but...
Yeah. I mean, you asked what was the easiest.
Yeah, but I was thinking more
not like... Not the most desirable.
I was thinking vertebrates also.
Right, okay.
Although I guess I would count an octopus if you could steal that, and they're not vertebrates, but...
What about, like, a bird?
Yeah. I mean, birds, depending on your definition of steal, if you just, like, open up a hole, they could fly away, and then now the zoo doesn't have it anymore.
Coming back to Woodland Park Zoo, they've got peacocks running around.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Just around the zoo, you could just like scoop
take one
of
those peacocks.
I feel like you would probably have to fight the peacock. I don't know what.
See, this is where my cartoon brain comes in because as soon as you said that, like the peacock in my head was like, "Fight me."
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're fighting kind of birds, but like I would imagine it would be similar to trying to steal like a goose or something.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that I chased them around when I was little trying to catch them, and they weren't having it. So I don't think they would just let you walk up and scoop them up.
Right. You'd have to be sneaky about it.
Yeah.
You'd probably need to wear, in this case, I would want to wear like white coveralls and have a big net.
Yeah.
Like dog catchers in cartoons for some reason. That would be fun. But,
yeah.
But that probably wouldn't be inconspicuous for stealing something at the zoo, I guess.
No. I mean, maybe if you went on like, is there like a Halloween day at the zoo? Like maybe you go to the zoo on a day where everybody's in costume.
Interesting.
Because then you could...
You could wear like a big poofy costume that you could hide animals in.
Yeah, that would work too. Like where your brain is. I was thinking you'd get away with the coveralls and the net.
Yeah.
But
maybe
you just want to wear a giant ball gown instead.
Yeah, or like those huge clown pants, you know? Where it's like suspenders and like a hoop that keeps it open, right?
You just strap 3 penguins to each leg
get
out of there.
You could steal a whole gaggle of penguins or whatever a group of penguins is called.
Yeah, what is a group of penguins called?
Probably, a flock, but I'm sure there's some fanciful name that people have pretended is like what they're really called or whatever.
Wow, you have feelings about this.
I do. Most of those a lot of the like names you see like, a herd of walruses is called a traffic jam of walruses or whatever. It's like made up somebody just said it like on a blog or something, and then another blog picked it up. You know what I mean? Like,
that's okay. I like it.
There's a handful of stuff that comes from...
Are we getting into a linguistics lesson again?
Well, a little bit. It comes from falconry or whatever, I think. Or bird keeping in medieval times, and they had different names for a bunch of stuff. But, and I guess there's like pride of lions, murder of crows. People actually say those things, but nobody's actually like, look at that unkindness of ravens. Or nobody says that.
Well, no, that would be a murder.
No, ravens are an unkindness, according to the internet.
Wow.
Crows are a murder.
Yeah, no, people would just say murder, right?
Probably, I guess. I still do want to interrogate a little bit more what other animals would be easy to steal from the zoo. Like, I feel like
anything that's not behind glass is going to be easier.
Yeah, stuff where you can easily kind of get into the enclosure, and they're not too dangerous, right? And they're also, like, penguins are nice because they're kind of compact and sleek. They're probably heavy, but...
They might be slippery.
Might be a bit slippery, that's true.
About an otter.
Otter would probably be a similar level as penguin, I would guess. They do have, like, teeth.
I feel like those enclosures, though, I feel like a lot of times I've seen the otter enclosure behind glass, or there's, like, something that you gotta get over to get to the actual otters.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you definitely would have to contend with water.
Even with penguins, you probably have to swim up to the rocks.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like the otter enclosures are usually pretty similar to the penguin enclosures. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, but they have, I think maybe the part that I'm thinking that's behind glass is like the little viewing areas.
Right. So what about names? We didn't talk about names.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, could just be how to steal a penguin, right?
How to steal a penguin.
Which is probably...
Actually, I kind of like that.
Kind of works just for a general name for stealing silly stuff.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, that might just be it.
Yeah, how to steal a penguin.
Yeah, and I like it because it's a nod to like that Audrey Hepburn movie, right? Isn't it called How to Steal a Million?
Oh, maybe.
I believe so.
Yeah, how to steal a penguin, or it could be like Penguin Heist, or Stupid Heist, or Silly Heist, or something like that.
Stupid Heist, I like, but I think I still like How to Steal a Penguin better.
How to Steal a Penguin is kind of good. Maybe it's like How to Steal a Penguin and Other Stupid Heists or something like that. Like a subtitle, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we probably should be wrapping up because Rory is hitting his limit.
He's trying to drink my soda now.
But he's doing it backwards, which is probably for the best because otherwise it'd be dumped all over us.
Yeah. So, I like this. I like this idea, and maybe next week we'll come back and tell you about how we successfully stole a penguin.
We'll have a new co-host.
Gunter. And
penguin.
We will be asking for your penguin care tips.
Also, let us know via, maybe I'll do a Q&A thing on the Spotify, or send us a message. What do you think is the most stealable animal from the zoo?
Yeah.
And if you have a plan, feel free to let us know.
Because we know the least stealable, right?
Elephants?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say lion, but elephant, yeah.
Yeah. Lion would be pretty hard to steal.
Lion would be pretty hard, but mostly because it would try to eat you.
Yeah, you might be able to, like, kite it out.
Probably still more feasible than an elephant.
Maybe
a baby elephant. I think that would still be difficult.
Yeah. They're probably, even the babies might be heavier than a lion or whatever.
Yeah. So follow us on social media. You can find all of our socials on our website, which is coolpodcast.website. I would be honest, I don't know if we're going to be posting on Twitter/X anymore. Maybe we'll just be moving over to Threads because, fuck all that noise. So we're on Threads and Instagram at What Should Pod. You can also look us up on Facebook. Look up What Should Our Podcast Be About, or go to our website. And for right now, we are on Twitter, which we are still calling Twitter, at What Should Pod.
Yep, check out our website. Like she said, you can email us what@coolpodcast.website. Please send us your ideas for podcasts. You've heard how dumb our ideas are, so yours can't be dumber than ours.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely read those and talk about them if you do.
We promise to give you lots of credit for your dumb ideas.
Also, if anybody does take one of these dumb ideas and want to actually make a podcast out of it, please do. That would be awesome.
And please tell us about it.
Like I said a minute ago, there are Q&A things on Spotify that I'm starting to use a little bit. So if you listen on Spotify, you can, fill those out and we'll get that. Also, if you leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else that you can do reviews, we will definitely. I think if we start getting any reviews, we'll probably just read them on the podcast if they're interesting at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, please leave us a review. It will really help get our podcast into other people's ears. And that will give us more to talk about, which would be good. Tune in next week to find out if we come up with an outro.
Or we just start using like Rory screaming as an outro.
Oh, yeah.
You could do like a Rory sound bath.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that.
Could be maybe funny. All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. What was that podcast about? I'm trying to figure it out. Didn't catch what that was about.